The rain had just stopped in the small town, leaving behind that heavy scent of wet earth and damp wood. The sky was a dull gray, the kind that seemed to press down on the world, and tiny rivulets of water still snaked along the edges of the road. Samuel sat inside his family's small sitting room, a half-open window letting in the cool, damp air. The sound of water dripping from the zinc roof onto the ground outside was like a slow, steady heartbeat in the quiet house. Samuel was only 19. He had just completed secondary school and was now in that strange in-between space, no longer a schoolboy, but not yet a university student. His heart brimmed with dreams. Dreams of graduating with honors, getting a good job, traveling, and, most importantly, lifting his parents out of their modest life. They weren't poor, but they lived simply. His father drove a taxi, and his mother sold local meat pies around the neighborhood, carrying her goods on a large tray balanced expertly on her head. She was a strong woman, small-framed but with the kind of strength that comes from years of enduring hardship with grace. She loved Samuel fiercely. He was her only child, the son she had prayed for, the one she called her miracle baby. After his final exams, Samuel's father decided it would be good for him to learn a skill before entering university. They agreed on computer training, a small training center not far from home. Every morning Samuel would leave home with a spring in his step, determined to make the most of the opportunity. That day, the training center had closed early. Samuel walked home through the drizzle, his shirt slightly damp. The air was fresh with the smell of rain, and puddles dotted the sandy road. By the time he reached home, the rain had stopped completely, and the clouds were breaking just enough for a faint sunlight to peek through. He was a little tired, so he decided to take a short nap. He kicked off his sandals, lay on the old, neatly spread bed in his room, and let the gentle breeze from the window lull him to sleep. Somewhere in that sweet, heavy rest, he heard it, a familiar voice calling from outside. "Samuel! Samuel!" His mother had just returned from the market. She always called his name the moment she came home, her voice laced with affection and relief, like someone greeting their anchor after a long journey. Samuel smiled, still half asleep, and then jolted up. His mother's voice always pulled him to his feet. He hurried out, stretching as he went, and the sight of her standing in front of the house with her tray half covered in a cloth made him feel warm inside. "Welcome, Mama," he greeted, his voice full of energy. She smiled, her eyes lighting up, though her shoulders sagged from carrying the heavy tray. "I'm fine, my son," she replied. "How was your training?" "Good," Samuel said. "Let me just pee, then I'll help you inside." He stepped toward the corner of the compound to relieve himself. The soil was wet, soft under his bare feet. Afterward, he made his way back to the front door, the familiar sound of water still dripping from the roof above. The small iron protector, a metal frame at the entrance of their house, stood there as always. Without thinking, Samuel reached out and placed his hand on it. In an instant, his body betrayed him. A violent current surged through him. His entire frame stiffened, his muscles contracting against his will. His mouth opened in a cry, not of pain alone, but of shock, terror, and confusion. "Mummy! Mummy!" he screamed, his voice strained and trembling as his body shook uncontrollably. Inside the house, his mother froze for a split second, her heart dropping into her stomach. Then she flung the tray to the floor and ran out, her slippers slapping against the wet ground. The sight before her was like something out of a nightmare. Samuel's hands were locked to the iron protector, his body jerking violently. His eyes darted wildly, his teeth clenched, and his legs trembled as if they were about to give way. "Samuel, my son!" she screamed, her voice shattering into the damp air. She reached forward instinctively but stopped. The moment she got close, she felt the sharp, angry hum of electricity in the air. She knew if she touched him, it would take her too. Neighbors began running from every direction. Some came barefoot, others still dripping from their own chores, all drawn by her screams. "It's shocking him," someone shouted. "Don't touch the iron." The rain had left the zinc roof and the wooden structure soaked. The entire metal frame of the house was alive with electricity. Samuel's cries were breaking now, his voice weakening. "Mummy, help me, help me," he begged, tears streaking his face. She was crying uncontrollably now, her hands trembling in the air as she shouted for help. People shouted suggestions, none of them safe. The seconds felt like hours. Then Samuel's voice changed. It was no longer directed at her. His eyes turned upward, his lips quivering as he whispered with the last of his strength. "Father, help me." That father was not his earthly father. It was the father who had created the skies above them, the one he had heard about in church, the one he believed was watching him even now. And then his eyes rolled back. His body went still, his grip loosening, though his hands remained stuck in place. His head slumped forward, and his breathing seemed to vanish. A gasp went through the crowd. His mother's knees gave way, and she screamed as if the sound could tear open the heavens. From nowhere, a group of young men appeared, boys from the neighborhood who had grown up with Samuel. One of them carried a large, dry plywood board. Without hesitation, they swung the board hard against his hands. The impact broke his grip, and Samuel collapsed to the ground with a dull, lifeless thud. His body was unnaturally stiff, like a stick that had been left too long in the sun. The silence lasted only a second before it broke into chaos. "He's not breathing," someone cried. His mother threw herself toward him, but hands held her back. "Let them try," they told her. The boys began hitting his chest and back with the plywood, desperate to shock life back into him. Others shouted for a vehicle. Someone had already called his father. He was in the middle of a taxi trip, passengers chatting in the back seat, when the phone rang. The words he heard made his blood run cold. "Your son, he's lifeless." He gripped the steering wheel so hard his knuckles turned white. Tears blurred his vision, and a low, broken sob escaped him. The passengers looked on in shock, unsure of what to say as they watched a man's heart break in real time. Back at the house, Samuel's aunt had arrived. In the midst of the panic, she began mixing malt drink with raw egg. An old remedy she had once heard could help revive someone. She knelt beside him, prying open his lips and pouring the mixture in, calling his name again and again. "Samuel, Samuel, open your eyes." The wails of the crowd rose and fell like waves. People clutched each other, crying openly. Stories began spilling from their lips. Tales of Samuel's kindness, his politeness, his willingness to help anyone. The more they spoke, the heavier the grief became. His mother sat on the ground, her head in her hands, whispering prayers between sobs. Far away, or so it felt, Samuel could hear a voice. It was faint at first, like an echo in a deep cave. "Samuel, Samuel." Then it grew louder. "Samuel." He felt himself being pulled toward the sound, away from a darkness that had been wrapping itself around him. His chest ached, his throat felt raw, but the voices kept calling, tugging at him like invisible hands. And then, light. His eyelids fluttered open. The first thing he saw was a blurry crowd leaning over him. He blinked, and shapes became faces, faces wet with tears. A collective gasp rose, followed by shouts of joy. "He's alive!" His mother's cry this time was different. A loud, broken laugh mixed with tears as she threw herself toward him, hugging him tightly. The same crowd that had been weeping moments ago broke into song, dancing, and shouting praises to God. Some fell to their knees, others raised their hands to the sky. Samuel was taken to the hospital for a checkup. The doctors called it a miracle. He had survived an electrocution that could have easily killed him instantly. In the days that followed, the story spread beyond the neighborhood. People came to see him, some with gifts, others with prayers. The testimonies multiplied. People saying they had been reminded of God's power, that they had renewed faith because of what happened. Samuel himself was changed. He no longer took a single day for granted. He threw himself into his training, later getting into university. Years passed, and Samuel became the man he had always dreamed of being. Successful, generous, and deeply rooted in his faith. He built a new home for his parents, started a foundation to help underprivileged kids learn computer skills, and became a pillar in his community. But he never forgot that rainy day, the day when life could have ended, but instead, God gave him back. And in every testimony he shared, he always ended with the same words: "This can only be God."